Hello everyone, this is Eugene Find It speaking. So if you've been onto my channel, you would have noticed that a lot of my videos are based on anime series. I've seen a lot of anime series and a lot of my videos are kind of like countdowns from anime series, or more importantly, anime songs. And so from announcements that I made recently, which you can check in the description below, I did state that I was planning on making a review show on YouTube, or review videos on YouTube, and it's basically going to be a review on anything that I come across interesting, but mainly it would be about anime series. And so I was thinking, before I make a review video or start one, which I have stated I would probably do on the 17th of June, I thought I would make this video first, which would be sort of like a description of what I really look for in an anime series. And for today, I'm gonna give you 10 elements that I look for when watching an anime series. These aren't exactly all of the things that I look for, but it comprises of mainly everything that I look for. And without further ado, let's begin. The first of these would have to be the first impressions. And as the saying goes, first impressions are very important. And I really do take first episodes to very seriously, because based on the first episode, I can kind of gauge on whether an anime is good or not. But just so you know, the first episode does not guarantee, or does not really mean, that anime is going to be good or bad. It just kind of gives you a rough guide on how an anime is going to be. If the first episode is very good, in my opinion, I would have rather high expectations for the series, and it just makes me look forward to it. But if the first episode is bad, I don't just toss it aside, because, like I said, the first episode does not mean everything for an anime series. Sometimes anime series with a bad first episode might turn out actually pretty good by the end of it. But I don't have all the time in the world in order to judge an anime based on everything if I don't find the first few episodes to be interesting. And so when I watch a series, I would give a maximum of 3 episodes for it to impress me. If by the end of the first 3 episodes it does not impress me, or does not strike as how do you say this, worth the watch, I would just toss it aside. There have been a few series that I've done this before, namely Galaxy Angel, Trouble Chocolate, and Magic Fairy Persia. Oh my goodness. I mean, the first episodes were, how should I say this, absolutely awful. Okay, and well, like any, I just gave it like 3 episode tries, and still not worth it. So what the heck. I did, but you know, at least that helped me gauge on which one's good and which one's bad. Okay, now, along with the first impression, that leads to our second element, which is the ending. Yes, the ending is very important in my opinion, and for me personally, I would prefer if an ending is somewhat of a conclusion to a series. I really don't like an ending that is kind of like a cliffhanger, where, you know, they leave the series hanging without tying everything together. Even if they don't put like a conclusion at the first season, as long as they have like new seasons that somehow have a way of tying everything together, I would be alright with it. And yeah, it really bugs me when an ending just makes you think there's more coming, but there isn't. And you just wait for it and it never comes. And that really bugs me sometimes. But still, then again, the ending isn't everything. Sometimes the ending can be somewhat of a cliffhanger, but then again, if the series itself, up to the point of the ending, is interesting, I would let that aspect go. Yeah, that sort of thing. Now, the third element of an anime series, which I look for, would be, I would quote, the graphics or animation quality. Yes, it forms a major part in determining whether an anime is good or not, in my opinion. Because if you're watching a series, it ought to look good in order to keep you interested in watching it. If it doesn't look good, it just doesn't feel like it's worth watching because you just get bored after a while. And sometimes this kind of just becomes the determining factor of whether or not a series is good or not. A clear example for me would be Kaze no Stigma. Yes, the story itself is okay. I would give credit to the story because it does have some sort of plot and goal to be achieved by the characters. But I just find that the animation quality to be rather dull, or let's just say the colors and graphic designs are all a bit not that impressive. Kind of standard, but to me, I say it's below standard, and that factor kind of just drags down the quality of the animation or the anime series. Whereas in contrast, there are series like Arpeggio of Blue Steel, or in Japanese would be called Aoki Hagane no Arpeggio. It's, I would have to say, has one of the best graphics in anime series that I've ever seen. I mean, I've never seen anime characters moving more like game characters than in this series. It was absolutely brilliant, and also all the action scenes and all of those parts, they were absolutely brilliant. Even though the story itself isn't 100% the best, I would say, but the animation quality really makes me have a different opinion on this series. And along with the graphics and animation quality, links us to our next element, which would be the character design. Yes, when you're watching an anime series, a very important part would be the characters. And the characters have got to look their best, or at least look nice enough in order to keep you interested. Because sometimes the characters would kind of look really oddly designed, and that kind of distracts you when you're watching a series. Now, what I found after watching a lot of series is that character designs tend to become better as years go by. And that's normally the case, but, it's not 100% accurate. A very good example would be Cardcaptor Sakura. It was done in 1998 and 1999, but I have to say, the character designs can sometimes outcompete some of those in the 21st century, and that really makes the series have a clear advantage to those later series. And really, Cardcaptor Sakura is still one of my favorite series of all time, and that being one of the factors. And as long as the series has a good story, maybe this character design thing can be overlooked, but it's still a very important factor in my opinion. Next up, more important than the character design itself would be the character personality. Now, character personality is really important and probably a very hard aspect to be handled in an anime series, because a lot of characters tend to fall into these stereotypical modes in one way or another, and that can get kind of boring after a while and kind of annoying too. Some series have managed to avoid this sort of stereotypical trend, such as Sakuraso no Pet na Kanojo. Now this is like one of my favorite series, I said Cardcaptor Sakura was one of my favorite. This is also one of my favorite series, mainly because of the character personality. All of the characters in Sakuraso no Pet no Kanojo are absolutely brilliant. I cannot stress this enough. They just make the series worth the watch because they don't fall into those categories, and they kind of just make you rethink about the way you live your life. And also that just really impresses me. Whereas in some cases the character personality doesn't fall into the stereotypical mold, but then again it kind of makes you hate them. And one series which I can definitely point out from this is School Days. Yes, there are those two characters, I'm not gonna say who they are, in School Days just piss me off. Because let me get this straight. The character design and the animation quality itself is brilliant for a 2007 series, but the character personality is absolutely terrible. Because honestly, why were these characters like this anyway? They were the main reason that dragged my opinion of School Days down to the pits. Well, I'll just say this honestly, that it is not the worst anime series, because thankfully it has its strong points, but the character personalities really piss me off sometimes. Next up comes something that isn't really present in all series, but it's kind of important in my opinion, which are romantic elements. And romantic elements kind of exist in one way or another to make you feel happy, feel emotionally attached to the characters, because some of the characters develop feelings for one another, and that just gives you a really good feeling inside. Just to point out, even though I said romantic elements, it's not limited to like lovers and stuff. It can be within the family and relatives and stuff, helping out one another. And also sometimes it can turn into a somewhat dramatic side, or what I would like to call emotionally sensitive moments, which can literally make you cry. Yes, there are some series that do this, and I'm sure you guys can name a few. I can name a few, such as Planet After Story, Angel Beats, Anohana. I'm just gonna use the short name for now, just to save time. And yeah, I mean, these moments, I'm not a really big fan of drama, but these moments actually help in making me feel connected to the characters, and it kind of have a really strong opinion on them. On a different note, there are times when I would look for much term comedy elements. Yes, I really look forward to these comedy elements because I myself enjoy comedy. I've seen a lot of stand-up comedy on YouTube by various famous comedians and stuff, and really, a lot of anime series have these comedy elements. They can actually be very funny, and some of these series do a very good job in making you laugh. I mean, these elements just make you feel good. Just some of the very good ones I can name up are Nichijo, Danshi Gokosei no Nichijo, and Setokai no Ichizon. Yeah, the three right now that I can name up. These sort of elements make me want to watch a series over and over again. And more importantly, even if a series does not have a sort of good or general story, if it manages to repeatedly bring out these brilliant or astounding comedy and hilarious moments, it can really make the series fun to watch and also improve itself, you know, in its own way. It's kind of amazing. Next up comes a really weird element, which I would term as logic, or at least if a series makes sense. Now, normally I wouldn't really care about a series making sense because a lot of series which follow certain elements that have no relation to the real world, such as magic, you can't really apply the real world laws to these series. So you kind of have to adapt to these series. And okay, that's what I generally do in these. But at least if it wants to use those elements, it has to at least make sense in its own way based on the rules of the logic of the series itself. And then I would be satisfied. Just to point out though, the one thing that I can't really accept in a fiction or fictitious setting is time travel. Because to me, I'm really skeptical about time travel, and to really pull off a series and making me interested in time travel can be really difficult. That being said, the series Steins Gate is a major exception because it is by far the only series that I've seen so far that really makes me believe that the concept of time travel actually works. And I won't go into much detail on that. I might make a review on the series sooner or later, but just wait for that. And now we're down to our last two elements, and I'll just point out the first one of these last two, which would be the opening and ending themes of anime series. Yes, at first when I started watching anime series, I wasn't really that into them because there weren't many series to start off with. But as time goes by, I start watching more and more, and they kind of just pile up, and I just find some songs that I really enjoy. And as you can see in some of my countdowns of anime song countdowns, which you can check in my channel, it has come to the point where I just grab whatever song from episodes that I've watched. But just to point out, a good song does not guarantee a good anime series. That I have truly found out, because it's just the song that sounds good. To watch the series is a different story. But sometimes if I hear a good song, which I normally watch in countdown videos, and I like the song, I would rather give the series a go just to see how it is. And normally it turns out well, so it's a good indication of it. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention too about like insert songs or soundtracks for in general. I don't really pay attention to those because I'm kind of just too busy watching an anime series to notice them. And also insert songs generally don't sound as good as openings and endings, but some do stand out. Even so, I still don't put them in my playlist. There are way too many songs in my playlist, so yeah, I'll just leave those aside. And finally, probably the most important element in an anime series that I look for would be the story or the plot. Generally, a series with a good plot would be one of my favorites. I mean, a series with a good story, or even just with a story, would be a better series than those without an overall story, such as those of slice of life animes. But then again, that's really debatable because sometimes certain slice of life animes manages to pull off without even a general story. But just to be in general, series that are in like my top 10 or so have a solid story or a goal to be achieved by the characters, and by the end of it you just kind of feel satisfied from watching those. And there you have it, guys. Those are the 10 things that I look for when watching anime. Like I said before, those aren't everything that I look for, but most of them. In any case, I do hope that this video helps you in sort of finding new series, or even in looking at anime in a different way. Even if you don't like to look at anime by judging it critically, like I normally do, that's fine. Just, you can use this as a guideline. Like I said, I did say that I was gonna start my anime review show on the 17th of June. But as it turns out, with all the editing and processes that would involve in making a video, I'd say it would be safer to do it after the exams. But I might reconsider depending on the situations. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. And do stay tuned in the next video or whatever I make. And do take care. Until next time, bye!